So, how does a hockey team named for a pretty intense moment in the American Civil War become a beloved Canadian icon? Well, it's a story of fire, ice, epic rivalries, and one of the most passionate fan bases in all of sports. This is the 50-year journey that defines the Calgary Flames.
You see, this story, it doesn't start in the cold winters of Alberta. Nope, it starts deep in the heart of the American South. The journey from Atlanta's Flaming A to Calgary's now iconic Flaming C. Well, that was a huge move that would change the face of the franchise forever.
All right, let's set the scene. The year is 1972. The NHL is expanding, trying to head off a rival league, and they pretty hastily award a franchise to Atlanta, Georgia. Not exactly a traditional hockey hotbed, but hey, the city was ready for a team. And the name they chose, the Flames, was a direct nod to Atlanta's own history, the burning of the city during General Sherman's March to the Sea. It's a pretty intense name for a hockey team, right? But it's one that would take on a whole new meaning years later. Now, on the ice, the Atlanta Flames were, well, they were decent. They actually made the playoffs in 6 of their 8 seasons, but they just could never get over the hump, winning a grand total of just 2 playoff games. And off the ice, things were even worse. Financial problems and trouble drawing crowds plagued the team right from the start. So, by 1980, something had to give. The owners were forced to sell, and that's when a group of businessmen from Calgary swooped in, buying the team for what was then a record $16 million. They moved it north of the border, where the name Flames suddenly felt surprisingly perfect for Canada's oil capital. And wow, did this move ever ignite a new era. As soon as they arrived in Calgary, the team got right to work building a real contender. They were laying the groundwork for what would become the most dominant and memorable decade in the history of the franchise. General manager Cliff Fletcher, he was a master architect. He built this roster by finding overlooked talent in U.S. colleges and over in Europe. But here's the thing. To be the best team in Alberta, they had to beat the best team in the world, their neighbors, the Edmonton Oilers dynasty. And this is what ignited the Battle of Alberta, one of the fiercest rivalries in all of sports. And the team they built? It was just a perfect mix. You had the heart and soul, legendary captain Lanny McDonald, and his iconic mustache. On defense, Al MacInnis had a slap shot that was just absolutely blistering. In net, the clutch goaltending of Mike Vernon. And then you had these young stars like Joni Wendick and Doug Gilmour. Just an incredible lineup. And it all came together in 1989. After years and years of battling their rivals up north, the Flames finally broke through. They beat the Montreal Canadiens in the final, and they captured their one, and to this day, their only Stanley Cup. But you know how it is. After the incredible high of '89, there was a long, painful come down. The 90s and the early 2000s, well, that was a time of decline and a lot of frustration for the franchise and its fans. A time that was really defined more by losses than by glory. Get this, the team missed the playoffs for 7 consecutive seasons. 7. From 1997 all the way through 2003. For a proud team and a city that passionate, it was just a brutal stretch. But through all of that darkness, there was one shining star. Number 12, Jarome Iginla. For an entire generation of fans, he was the Calgary Flames. He was the captain, the leader, a world-class talent who gave the city hope when there wasn't a whole lot else to cheer for. And his 2002 season, absolutely legendary. I mean, he led the entire league in both goals and points. He took home the Art Ross and the Rocket Richard trophies as the NHL's most dominant offensive player. It was a stunning individual achievement on a team that was, let's be honest, still struggling to find its way. And then came 2004. After 7 years out of the playoffs, absolutely nobody saw this coming. The Flames, led by Iginla, went on one of the most unexpected, thrilling, just unbelievable playoff runs the NHL has ever seen. This whole run was powered by their goaltender, Mika Kiprusov. They got him mid-season, and he just went on an absolute tear, setting a modern NHL record for his goals against average. He was this unbeatable brick wall that carried them all the way to the Stanley Cup final. And as the team caught fire, so did the city. This is when the Sea of Red was born. The entire Saddledome just became this roaring sea of red jerseys. It was an incredible spectacle. A whole city completely united behind its underdog team. That passion spilled right out into the streets, creating what became known as the Red Mile. After every single victory, tens of thousands of fans would just flood 17th Avenue for this massive, spontaneous street party. It was a true cultural phenomenon that showed just how much this team meant to Calgary. But the Cinderella story ended in total heartbreak and controversy. In Game 6, with a chance to win the Stanley Cup on home ice, Martin Gelinas scored what looked like the go-ahead goal. It was never reviewed, it was never awarded, and to this day, every single Flames fan will ask the question, was it in? They would go on to lose that series in 7 games. The years that follow that incredible 2004 run have really been defined by constant change. It's been a search for a new identity, a new core, and it's seen some beloved franchise icons come and go, kicking off a long period of transition. And the departures, they were seismic. In 2013, the unthinkable happened when Jarome Iginla was traded. In 2021, his successor as captain, Mark Giordano, was lost to expansion. And then, in one shocking offseason in 2022, the team's 2 biggest stars, Johnny Gaudreau and Matthew Tkachuk, were both gone. Just like that. That mass exodus basically forced management's hand. The trade for Tkachuk brought back 2 new potential stars, Jonathan Huberdeau and Mackenzie Weegar, in a blockbuster deal. It was a dramatic, abrupt attempt to retool the roster and start a completely new chapter. Which brings us to today. From the ashes of Atlanta to the Stanley Cup glory of '89, from the long drought to the incredible Red Mile and the constant change of the modern era, man, it has been an unforgettable 50 years. The only question now is, what comes next? What's going to define the next chapter for the Flames?